we had Tulsi and Kash Patel at Capitol Hill today. I think Kash is going to pass without a problem, but Tulsi, like I was talking about last night, looks like they want to vote in secrecy for her. So the biggest thing they were trying to get her on today, they were trying to get her on the Edward Snowden thing. And, it really sucks. They were trying to, she did have to lie about her fundamental beliefs. With the Edward Snowden thing, they're like, do you believe Edward Snowden's a hero or a criminal or a traitor to the U.S.? And she's like, Edward Snowden broke the law and that was wrong, which, back in the day, she would call Edward Snowden a hero because the only thing he betrayed was the fucking deep state, not the American citizens. So let's take a look at some of these Snowden clips. So it's kind of painful to watch. Tulsi Snowden. Yeah, here we go.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Do you still think Edward Snowden is brave?
Mr. Vice Chairman, Edward Snowden broke the law. I do not agree with or support with all of the information and intelligence that he released, nor the way in which he did it. There would have been opportunities for him to come to you on this committee or seek out the IG to release that information. The fact is, he also, even as he broke the law, released information that exposed egregious, illegal, and unconstitutional programs that are happening within our government that led to serious reforms that Congress undertook.
Chairman, we got 5 minutes. So I take your answer, and these are your quotes. Brave, please join my bipartisan legislation calling for charges to be dropped against him. Do you disagree that legislation was not appropriate? Do you believe he is brave or not?
Yeah,
back those words.
Once again, Senator, Edward Snowden broke the law. He also released information
we agree that Edward Snowden
that
broke
exposed the United States government's illegal
your
programs.
legislation and your words are still your beliefs. Yes or no, please.
I'm making myself very clear. Edward Snowden broke the law. He released information about the United States government's illegal activities.
Ma'am,
if I may just finish my thoughts, Senator. In this role that I've been nominated for, if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I will be responsible for protecting our nation's secrets. And I have 4 immediate steps that I would take to prevent another Snowden-like leak.
Ma'am.
Yep, we got it. So that, I get that she has to say that, but it's shitty that you have to say something that's against your beliefs to get this position. And then there's this whole 702 FISA thing that is real nasty, the way the Senate was talking about today, acting like it's going to be the end of the world if we get rid of this.
I ask you a question. Please give me
to the egregious civil liberties violations that were occurring at that time.
Ms. Gabbard, Ms. Gabbard, I ask you a question. Please give me the courtesy of responding. You said the reforms now make you supported. What can you cite? Which reforms?
There are a number of reforms to include getting rid
in the new law,
that all of you and your wisdom.
Ms. Gabbard, my time is getting short, but I got to just tell you, after the reforms were passed into law in April of 24, you went on Joe Rogan's podcast in May.
Attention to the agreement.
I don't like this one. Tulsi 702.
Tell us, how has your thinking on Section 702 developed over time and why? And if confirmed, what will you do to ensure that this new statutory safeguards, that they're fully implemented?
Well, Senator, as you pointed out, many of the concerns that we raised when we served in the House of Representatives.
Wait, I should show you what this thing is. It just occurred to me. My bad. FISA 702. So this is pretty much the Patriot Act, where they could spy on you. So FISA Section 702 in 2008, Congress enacted Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, a critical intelligence collection authority that enables the intelligence community to collect, analyze, and appropriately share foreign intelligence information about national security threats. Section 702 authorizes targeted intelligence collection of specific types of foreign intelligence information, such as information concerning international terrorism or the acquisition of weapons of mass destruction, identified by the Attorney General and the Director of National Intelligence. Section 702 only permits the targeting of non-US United States persons who are reasonably believed to be located outside the United States. I'm sure they strictly stick to that. United States persons and anyone in the United States may not be targeted under Section 702. Section 702 also prohibits reverse targeting. The IC may not target a non-U.S. person located outside the U.S. The purpose of the collection is to collect information about a United States person or anyone located in the United States. So I think that's bullshit. Like, just Tucker Carlson, for example, they hacked into his phone and then leaked his texts to the New York Times. Now, what are they going to say? Because he was in Russia that this didn't apply? The part about being in, like, so he was located outside the United States. Yeah, it's like, I'm of the belief that, they say this is to stop terrorist attacks and everything, but I'm of the belief that I literally believe there hasn't been a legit terrorist attack in the United States, like possibly in all of our history. Like every terrorist attack that's happened, you could trace it back to some government agency or somebody that a government agency was working with. And then immediately after, they're pushing an agenda. So, I mean, I would love to know how many legitimate terrorist attacks they've stopped using things like this, but of course that's classified. It's a matter of national security. So it could be thousands, it could be zero. But I'm not a big fan.
Representatives were centered around the lack of safeguards to protect Americans' Fourth Amendment rights and civil liberties as it pertains to searching of U.S. persons with that incidental collection that occurs under 702. You and I both know and agree that the national security capability that is provided by Section 702 that enables this foreign surveillance on non-U.S. persons overseas is critical, period. My commitment is to make sure that our national security tools are maintained to fulfill that requirement while also protecting Americans' Fourth Amendment rights and protection against unlawful search and seizure. There are a number of those reforms that you referenced, such as the prohibition of abouts collection, which we brought up when we served in the House. Making sure that 100% of U.S. persons by the FBI on this incidental collection are reviewed by the Attorney General herself. There are a number of other reforms that I believe strengthen significantly those safeguards, a number of them that I had worked to try to bring into place when I was in the House of Representatives. I look forward, if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, to overseeing and assessing the implementation of these reforms and reporting back to you as.
So there you go. She's kind of speaking their language. She kind of has to say that she's in favor of it, which, I mean, the way it's written on paper, it sounds great, but I just don't believe that's used that way. Then we had Kash Patel. Kash Patel did great today, I thought. I think it was a bit of an easier situation for him, but let's take a look at some of his stuff.
In the collective, all of those statements are taken out of grotesque context. And anyone that thinks my 16 years of service isn't exemplary on how I would proceed if confirmed as FBI is intentionally putting false information into the public ether and creating more public discourse. The only thing that will matter if I'm confirmed as a director of the FBI is a de-weaponized, depoliticized system of law enforcement completely devoted to rigorous obedience of the Constitution and a singular standard of justice. In the collective.
Okay. What else we got?
senator for 14 years. I've been on this committee the entire time. You were the very first FBI director or FBI director nominee who, when I've asked about this, hasn't said, oh, don't worry about it. We'll handle it okay. We've got good people on the inside. We would never breach the trust of the American people. Do you know what? They were lying. Let's talk about the Fourth Amendment for a moment. The Fourth Amendment tells us that in order for the government to breach your expectation of privacy relative to your person, your home, your papers, if they want to search that, if they want to seize you, they've got to get a warrant. And that warrant has to describe with particularity the persons or places to be searched or to be seized, and to connect them up with a showing of probable cause. Now, in the case of FISA 702, we're dealing with a somewhat different universe. Now, moments ago, we heard some discussion about FISA 702, about suddenly we've got a different FISA 702 than what we had when President Trump was last in office. Is that true? Because by my count, FISA 702 has not changed substantively since President Trump was in office last.
That's correct.
Okay. And there was also some back and forth discussion about FISA 702 and the use of it, and the fact that in real time, it might not work to get a warrant. This, in my view, misses the point. The concern that the American people have with FISA 702 is not about the real-time collection of communications regarding foreign targets. The concern is that once those communications are stored, you have within them what are referred to as incidentally collected communications of Americans, text messages, emails, recorded phone calls, and so forth. If they want to go in and search for someone, let's say you, if someone wants to go into one of those databases after they've been collected, let's see if you're unwittingly communicating with somebody who, unbeknownst to you, happens to be an agent of a foreign power or otherwise under surveillance under FISA 702. If they wanted to search for you, they wanted to enter your name, your phone number, your email address, or some other personal electronic identifier, would they have to get a warrant to do that under current law?
Under current law, I believe so, Senator.
Under current law, they routinely access that without getting a warrant. In order to access it, they've got their own internal procedures. They're not supposed to use this for light or transient reasons. They're supposed to have a perfectly good reason, and yet we found that on hundreds of thousands of occasions, they have accessed the private communications of Americans, searching for those individual Americans by name, by number, by email address, whatever it is, without a warrant or anything tantamount to it. On occasion, they've even been used for overtly nefarious reasons. One agent deciding to look in on his father because he suspected his father might be having an extramarital affair. On another occasion, an agent looked at people who were thinking about renting an apartment from him to make sure they were upstanding citizens and could be trusted. Are these appropriate uses of FISA 702?
As you alluded to, the FISA court, it's not me deciding it. The FISA court put out a report in 22 or 23 where 255,000 illegal improper queries of American citizens had occurred. 255,000 reasons why the American people don't trust it. And that's what we must work together, Congress and me, if I'm confirmed as FBI director, restore that trust and protect the mission.
Music to my ears, because I've been a U.S. Senator for 14 years. I've been on this committee the entire time. You were the very first FBI director or FBI director nominee who, when I've asked about this, hasn't said, oh, don't worry about it. We'll handle it okay. We've got good people on the inside. We would never breach the trust of the American people. Do you know what? They were lying. I was willing to believe that they thought they were telling the truth, but they were mistaken. But they were lying. Time has told us that they were lying. You will not lie, and that's why I wholeheartedly support you. I've been
Well said, Mike Lee. I like this guy. So I think Kash is in good shape. I think Tulsi's going to be close, but I think she'll get in. I think that the Republicans are going to be too afraid of Trump.